We all carry stories that were created in childhood, shaped by early experiences, disappointments, and unmet needs. These stories form the foundation of what we call our identity. But what if this identity is not the true self? What if it's an accumulation of conditioned responses, learned behaviors, and survival mechanisms, all running in the background unnoticed? These patterns, often born from past pain, repeat unconsciously. They might show up as constant self-doubt or the need for validation, caretaking, or seeking approval. They might manifest in relationships as conflict, anxiety, or a constant search for something we can't quite grasp. These survival loops are often mistaken for our true self, but they're not. They're reactions to the world, not the essence of who we are. So how do we break free from these loops? First, we must recognize them. Awareness is the key. The first step in dissolving these patterns is to see them for what they are, not as part of us, but as outdated programs running in the background of our lives. It's as if the mind is constantly replaying old tapes, looping thoughts and reactions that no longer serve us, reinforcing a false identity tied to past hurts, fears, and desires. The practice of spacious awareness, the art of stepping back and observing ourselves, gives us the freedom to witness these patterns without judgment or attachment. Instead of becoming entangled in the next thought, we create space between ourselves and our reactions. We begin to ask, what is behind this thought? What is driving this behavior? Through this awareness, we start to see how much of what we do, think, and feel is conditioned. These loops are not who we are. They are simply remnants of our past, playing out over and over again until we recognize them. With this understanding, we can gently begin to release them. A practical guide: how to begin loosening these loops. Start with awareness. Journal your thoughts and reactions. Begin by observing yourself. You can start by keeping a journal where you jot down thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that seem to repeat. Perhaps you notice certain reactions when interacting with people, a tendency to feel unworthy, the need to be validated, or feeling triggered by specific situations. Write these down. In the beginning, don't worry about analyzing them. Just notice them as they arise. Identify patterns and triggers. Once you've observed a few recurring thoughts or behaviors, begin to look for patterns. Are there common themes? Do they appear more in certain situations or with particular people? Identify any triggers that cause these loops to spin into action. For example, if you find yourself feeling resentful when someone doesn't acknowledge your efforts, explore what might be underlying that. A desire for recognition, a fear of being overlooked, or childhood conditioning that taught you to prove your worth through others' validation. Create spacious awareness through observation. The next step is to create spaciousness around these patterns. Instead of immediately reacting to these triggers, practice pausing and observing. When a thought or emotion arises, step back and notice. Ask yourself, what is this thought trying to tell me? Where is it coming from? Is it truly my current experience? Or is it an echo of a past wound? The goal here is not to stop the thought, but to create space between you and it. You are not the thought, the emotion, or the reaction. You are the witness, the observer. This shift in perspective, seeing the thought but not identifying with it, begins to loosen its grip on you. Gently question and release the patterns. Once you've created that spacious awareness, begin to ask questions. What happens if I don't react to this thought? What if I allow this emotion to simply pass through me without needing to hold on to it or act on it? Sometimes just letting the thought pass without giving it energy is enough to begin dissolving it. You might also ask, what would happen if I didn't follow through with my habitual coping mechanism? Instead of reacting the same way you always have, whether that's people-pleasing, withdrawing, or feeling anxious, allow yourself the freedom to choose a different response, or no response at all. Allow the emptying to occur. This process over time begins to empty the emotional and psychological weight of these old patterns. As you create space and allow yourself to be with the present moment, the old loops begin to dissolve. You stop feeding the false identity, and the energy that was once trapped in these cycles starts to flow more freely. The practice of spacious awareness can be applied throughout your day. Whenever you feel a trigger or a familiar thought pattern arise, take a breath and step back. Over time, this practice will create deeper freedom as you slowly release attachments to old roles and behaviors. The emptying path invites us to step off the treadmill of self-improvement, to stop chasing validation or trying to fix ourselves. It encourages us to allow, to let go, and to simply be. By recognizing the survival loops, acknowledging them and offering them no more fuel, we allow spaciousness to enter our lives, creating room for peace and clarity and the true self to emerge. This is not about achieving a perfect life, but about loosening the grip of false identity and finding freedom in the empty spaces and rediscovering the quiet strength that resides within us all. Peace be with you.